at the tail end of Skeleton Crew and also Rings of Power, we have been given a compelling set of reviews that gives me a little bit of a critique into one of the questions that I want to talk about today. I want to talk about if a character is truly a product of their environment or can they rise above it. Now, in this one specifically, I do want to kind of focus on Skeleton Crew and also Rings of Power Season 2, not Season 1. The big part of that is, I mean, look, it wasn't necessarily received very well by the fans. It was something that was kind of jumbled and it was built to really set up Season 2 and the later seasons. So let's just keep it between Season 2 and also Skeleton Crew. For this one specifically, I want to talk about a lot of the reviews that have been going around talking about the necessity of characters. Necessity of the show itself really is always going to be imbued in every critique. But, you know, this one specifically, I don't understand why so many people have kind of shed a little bit of their own light saying, why did we have Skeleton Crew? Why are these characters even here? It didn't really dive into anything to do with the Skywalker saga, and it was just kind of something that was an everyday tale that meant absolutely nothing to the universe. One thing that I really didn't like when I saw was the fact that these characters were something that was said to be nobodies. They were said to be nothing, that they, in the greater scheme of everything, they couldn't do anything. Now, this is obviously in regards to big fights. You know, they're fighting someone like Jod, who's not very good. He's kind of like he's a forgotten Jedi. He's moved on from that time. He barely did any teaching. So it can be a little bit tricky comparing their fights to bigger fights, but I don't think it's actually very necessary. I think through the whole time of the development of the characters, we get to see them grow and become new, and it's something that I actually saw very similar to the Fellowship of the Ring. Something that, you know, when they started off, they were very fresh, they were very excited for this grand adventure, didn't know what was going to be coming of it, and then the moment they come back, they're really taken back by all of the pain that came with dealing with the, you know, troublesome pirates, you know, deaths, everything terrible about the outside world. Very much similar to the Hobbits, the perfect life that they had in the Shire, the perfect life that they had around around Hobbiton and so on, where it was, you know, calm, it was beautiful, it was nothing to do with any evil. Only moments out of Hobbiton you can see absolute desolation and evil and corruption. Something that, honestly, I feel like these kids displayed so well. Okay, so in regards to Season 2 of Rings of Power and these characters, now, a lot of the time people were talking about the necessity to change the characters, to change, you know, what they meant and how they acted. One person in particular was Celebrimbor. Now, if you guys have played the game Shadow of Mordor was a really cool game. It had awesome dynamics of, like, people would remember you and so on. That really cool. I don't like that we're not really going to be getting any more of that because it's kind of been bored out. It's just kind of shit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. So Celebrimbor in that was this fine warrior. He was this great divine warrior who built these rings of power to be able to save all of Middle Earth, and he was this warrior in charge. Comparatively to someone like Celebrimbor in Rings of Power Season 2, he's not really a warrior. He's not really someone that, you know, is important. He is someone who made the ring, but it was kind of Sauron who really festered in that environment. He was the one that pushed everyone to get there. Celebrimbor wasn't the grand architect, and then when everything started going wrong, he wasn't there to do anything. He couldn't really stand up and fight. He was just someone who kind of accepted the defeat in a way. So it's kind of interesting, right? We've got two very different environments, two very big kind of differences that we get to see all throughout multiple different franchises. But these two specifically, we've got Celebrimbor, who's a warrior, raised in a battle, war-torn area, compared to that of Celebrimbor in Season 2 of Rings of Power, someone who's been raised in somewhere that is beautiful and serene and calm, and just, it can fester the imagination. He built all of it. I think it's called a region. So he built all of Eregion around him to be this peaceful kind of bubble in Middle-earth, something that not a lot of people could access, but also not a lot of people could tamper with. So, does that environment change who the character is? I don't think so. I think both of them are actually the exact same character, but it's the way we perceive it. Something that I really resonated with was the way Sam Witwer talked about Star Wars, something to do with fairy tales. So when he was describing it, he was talking about all of the different tales that we get to see in Star Wars, from, great adventures to the tiniest insurmountable pressures of the Empire's control, kind of ripple effects in the galaxy. And we get to see all these people doing amazing, outstanding things, from legends to canon. Either way, we had these amazing details that kind of felt like they changed over time, that it got a little weaker, something, kind of something like, you see Hayden Christensen, Anakin fighting in the prequels, and then, in the sequels later, they don't have the same kind of fights and all that kind of stuff, and people talk about, oh, well, it's just not the same time. I don't agree. I think what Sam Witwer was talking about there, he was talking about everything in Star Wars being a fairy tale, something that people can interpret for themselves. I think it's very much the same with Lord of the Rings. I think all of this is just the interpretation of a fairy tale that all of these different people all around Middle-earth and also Star Wars talk about, with these great characters of great wisdom and control and kind of a little bit of a stoicism. So with this one, kind of ask the question, someone like Anakin, if Anakin was not raised on Tatooine, if Anakin was raised in somewhere, let's say, like Naboo, would he be the same person? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because a character is not defined by their environment. They're not defined by their actions. They're defined by the reactions. And everyone would know that Anakin would react the same way. He's someone who is temperamental. He was too controlled by his own emotions, something that, he couldn't see past the fear of losing his mum and also the anger of not being accepted into the Jedi Council. Those reactions are very much built into his system. It's something that you can't really change your reactions all throughout. Like, think about yourself, right? Think about any time that you've gone through and you've learned a lesson where you have not changed your reaction, you've dulled your reaction to make sure that the action is different. It's two very, very big things. So it's something that I kind of look at both Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and I say, well, how could I understand a character better by just seeing them purely acting within the scene? Well, I look at their reactions. I don't want to look at all of these shows and kind of see negativity. I think that's one of the greatest strong suits that I've had as a fan of both of these franchises. I've really enjoyed Rings of Power. I've really enjoyed Skeleton Crew. Like, genuinely, I've really enjoyed Skeleton Crew. And kind of, I've looked at all of Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and just, I've really loved it all. I've never seen any downfall. And it's because I don't focus so heavily on this rigid mindset of being someone who follows a specific line of character progression. So I could see someone like Anakin, and Anakin, every single time he falls to the dark side, if they made a different story and Anakin, he didn't fall the same way, he didn't have the same kind of troubles, and you didn't really reason with his decisions, would you still feel the same way? Or would you feel cheated because it wasn't the exact same Anakin that you knew, the Anakin that you grew up with? Now they're doing a new Rey movie. Is Rey going to be a completely different character? Is she going to be someone wiser? And then you're going to miss the battle-worn Rey that we got to see all throughout the sequel trilogy. Now, I get you might not like the sequels, but you can admit that the characters are really, really cool. If Kylo came out and he acted completely differently to what he was in the actual sequels, would you still like him? Well, I think that's for the interpretation of the person, obviously. Everything with all of these kind of opinions, they're very subjective. But I kind of want to rewire your mindset. I don't want you to think about the environment that they grew up in. I don't want you to think about the environment that they're in currently, or even the progression between the two. I want you to look at each character and look at the reactions that they make and base your opinion based on their reactions. It's something that you can tell so early on in a show when someone's good, because they might be doing something really bad. The action of what they are doing is terrible. Take it Jod, for example, right? Jod in Skeleton Crew at the start, he's literally robbing a bank. He's doing something terrible. I mean, even when his mate came into the prison cell to help him, or not prison cell, when he came into that droid depot to help him, shot him. It's all that kind of stuff that you see the actions really bad, but then you see his reactions to when the kids are actually in danger. The kids actually want to help him or do something for him, and he's there, I don't want to kill you. I really don't want to kill you. He holds back blows. He specifically shoots to the side. He scares them instead of actually hurting them. That's his reactions. That's how good he is. That's the goodness of his soul, the goodness in his heart, that he can look at something like that and say, you know what? Deep down, I'm not bad. That's why I think in season 2, I don't think he's going to be bad. I think he's going to come back and he's going to be, he's probably going to have that whole arc. I don't know if there will be a season 2, A lot of people actually got a really cool comment on my previous video on Skeleton Crew, which go check that out. I did a breakdown of the finale. I really enjoyed that one. But in one comment was, season 2 probably isn't going to happen because it had the same budget as The Acolyte, and then, kind of viewership was really low, and Disney would kind of have to just make a little bit of an exception and go out and just hope blindly that these kids are going to rescue them. Maybe drop the budget a little bit, who knows? But I really liked that comment. I think it was kind of very telling. So where could we see him? I mean, I guess we could really see him in any project later, but that's not really the point. I think the point is the way we judge him later is going to be completely different based on his actions, his reactions at the end. So rewire your brain, retrain your thoughts. Kind of don't look at things so negatively, like something can't happen because it's been said to not happen before. I mean, if you think about this in regular day life, I'm someone who likes to go to the gym. You see Eddie Hall. Everyone said you cannot lift 500 kilos. All scientists, they were like, it is physically not possible. You cannot lift 500 kilos right here. He did it. He did it. And the moment he did it, everyone else did it. Well, not everyone, but so many more people did, because you can rewire your brain. You can see that it's possible. Be that guy. Change your mindset. Accept change. Accept difference. Accept the fairy tale aspect of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. I know Rings of Power wasn't really everyone's kind of cup of tea, but I really enjoyed the characters in there. I think young Durin, he's absolutely my favorite. We got to see awesome moments with the Balrog, and we got to see amazing moments with Celebrimbor and how he stood up, and Sauron was so evil. I think Sauron's kind of a little bit of an interesting character there as well, because even in his environment later, in the worst time when he was stranded on that raft, he was still helping Galadriel. He was still helping Galadriel. He was still going out to be good. He was helping the elves. He was reacting in a good way. It took Galadriel's reactions to be able to turn him into a bad person again. Kind of made him a little more likable. Maybe that's not for everyone. But look, I hope today this kind of opened your mind into the possibilities of having a little bit more of an open view towards the future of both Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. Something that, any character in any franchise, I just look at the way they react to things. Understand that characters are going to be different in different environments, but it doesn't define them. Just because they acted terribly in a certain situation doesn't mean that they can't act better in the future. Maybe that might mean that you'll like more things to do with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Maybe that means that you will hate us so much more. It doesn't matter. I'm not here to tell you to like everything, but I just want you to look at it differently. Be more positive. Be more open to change. Understand that there are going to be different interpretations of everything in Star Wars. Something like The Acolyte was not everyone's cup of tea, but personally, I thought it had really, really good moments. If they reworked it, like they kind of like shuffled everything around and they added certain things in, then it wouldn't have been that complete nightmare that it was, which I can accept. It was a genuine nightmare. Like they promised us the Old Republic. I don't even need to go into it. But, to have something like the Acolyte there, maybe you'll be able to find more love. Maybe you'll be able to find more joy in seeing the Acolyte, in kind of, maybe even something like, I think the perfect example of that is Solo. Solo was one of the best movies that Disney brought out. Hands down, watch it again, check it out. But look at the characters. Look at how they react to each other. It's the perfect story of just triumph. I think, a lot of people, they forget that Disney doesn't actually make everything bad. So, look at things in a positive light. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys kind of took something out of it. And I will see you this Saturday. I'm doing a Blueprints of Star Wars, which is really, really cool. It was this book that I found at Vinnie's, and it's all about like it's a breakdown of every single blueprint of every base, scaled figurine. It's got like everything, like genuinely everything. So I'll catch you guys there. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed. Please, I don't really ask this a lot, but like if you do like this kind of stuff, give it a like. Comment down below what you think, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Well, I love you all.